Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's video on the Centurion Mk10. This is a tier 5 British medium tank or main battle tank that sits at a battle rating of 7.0. And in today's game we're in a conquest on jungle against the Germans and the Soviets. Now, we are able to spot the enemies coming over here and, well, we hit that tiger with our first shot. I'm not sure if there's a new feature with replays, like that name tag being visible anyway. Okay, I've switched to Hesh here. This is an interesting thing. Hesh and APDS. You get them all for British tanks, but what's better to use? Well, APDS does do a lot more pen. It's a lot more consistent post pen as well. However, Hesh can do that. Pen through the frontal armor of a Tiger II, regardless of range, and wipe out the crew inside. Now this is curious. I think this must be a new feature where you get the name tags above the enemy tanks in replays. As I'm sure you know from my past videos, I use replays to record my videos, as if I was recording the gameplay live, I'd suffer horrible frame rate loss, as my computer is not particularly powerful. Anyway, listen, back to about the tank. Centurion Mk10, it does get its 2 rounds, the APDS and the Hesh. Now the APDS is excellent. It's got a very high pen. Oh, it's the same gun as on the we failed to pen that T44 there. It's the same gun that's on the Leopard and the M60. This was a British gun, the 105 gun, that became used on most NATO tanks due to being, well, basically a very good gun. Now, here we kill an AI tank. And wisely we do move up. I thought he was actually a player tank, but I was wrong. Anyway, we kill him there. So, you get the APDS and the Hesh shells to begin with. Now APDS is brilliant against basically anything you get, except King Tigers. Against King Tigers, it can easily pen the lower glacis and the turrets. And at point blank range, directly in front of the hull, it can pen the hull. Yes, just. But if you want something more reliable to pen, is Hesh, which has got 150mm of pen, which is enough to pen anything in the game, except I think about the mouse. But the problem is with Hesh is that it is dreadful for shooting stuff in the flanks because it gets eaten up by tracks. The other problem is with it is the much lower muzzle velocity, which means it's which makes it more difficult to snipe with. Hence, as you can see, I like to take a combination of the two, predominantly taking more APDS as it's much more, well, consistent all round, and it's still fairly simple to kill a King Tiger shooting through its turret. Anyway, here we are, we're pushing forward again, as enemies, well, my friendlies on the southern side have requested some help. So here I'm moving up. Now, the Centurion isn't the most nimble of medium tanks, but it does accelerate reasonably quickly to close to its top speed, which, okay, it isn't fantastic, but it will be able to go pretty quickly anyway. There I accidentally fired off my gun by accident. There was nothing over there. A mistake on my part. Anyway, We're going to keep pushing up here. So, how does this tank compare to its predecessor? Well, it's pretty much better in every single way. Got better gun, better armour, but the top speed remains the same. That's the one problem with the first Centurion, is that the hull armour. The upper plate, if it doesn't bounce its shell, it does have a tendency to be killed and one-shotted. And the lower glazes is still very weak. This remains the case, but now the upper hull has got two plates, an extra 40mm over the original 76. Well, it comes up to 120mm in total. I can't. Well, sloped back, however, it is two separate plates. Now here we are. We managed to sneak up on these two tanks here. They don't notice me. They are far too focused on that American tank over there. I forget what it was. Now, I move up here and I didn't see that IS-2 at first. Unfortunately, my teammate just to the left did get killed. But hey ho. Just wiped out two heavy tanks there. Now, the armor on this tank is perfectly adequate. The one problem it has, as a lot of high tier British vehicles have, is abysmal side armor. This makes it somewhat difficult to angle your armor, as you're risking a lot. You can't afford to angle too much, otherwise you will be one-shotted, rather simply. Right, as we move up here, I fail to see anyone, and move up onto this position here, which will give me a good overview of the battlefield. Also, knew that there was somebody calling out an enemy vehicle up ahead that was sniping over on our positions. So I'm rather nervous as I move out here, as I know I'm extremely exposed. And this is a great risk, however, generally if your teammates are calling out an enemy tank in realistic, you know he's causing people some trouble, and we know he's just up ahead. He is indeed a T-44. We will get the bounce on him. The enemy, they've almost capped the enemy, but unfortunately they do cap back. We are just moving up here, and well, this shot is going to be somewhat disappointing. Tried to go for his ammo rack in the back of the turret and miss it. That was terrible. Anyway, we then go for the ammo rack in front and we don't miss it this time. Some dreadful shooting on my part on the first occasion. Right, we get hit there, something. Turns out to be an aircraft. So we do continue to march forward. Oh, now, here we see a tank coming up here. I'm not too sure he spots me first, but let's wait for him there, and right through this turret and hit his ammo rack. I'm guessing he'd taken a full load out of ammunition, which was not a wise thing for him to do. Now, bounce that first shot from that T-44-100, and we bounce off his gun barrel. It's perhaps somewhat unwise here that we charge forward. But we can't afford to stay about with our artillery strike and aircraft now pinpointing our position. There we are. Now, this is incredibly foolish by me here. Charging right forwards into the lion's den. And it gets me killed for it. An SU-100. Shoots me in the side and eliminates me. However, by the time I spawn in, my team manages to cap again and we win the match, and that is pretty much match over. As usual, the Centurion Mk10 is a very good, well-rounded tank. Great gun, good armour, good mobility. And it's a tank that I can highly recommend you going to get, especially because we all want to get the Chieftain. That's what I'm currently researching on the British tech tree, though it will be a while before I get it, as I'm only about 50,000 RPM. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video, and have a good night.